Well, Sam, here we are recording again, and we're just going to do a little catch up of what we've both been watching over the last how many months since we last spoke? About
It
five or
was,
six?
yeah, it was last June, so yeah, about six, seven
Yeah.
months. It was,
Well, we've spoken since, but like about
yeah,
films.
yeah, it was our James Bond special. That was like a day or so before I went to LA, but yeah, it's been a long time. Both been pretty busy, but new year, new resolution to do more recording and talk more about film.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll kick it off. Give the video a like, give it a share, and follow us on Facebook, Beyond the Box Office.
Yeah, all the uh,
And
all
yeah,
the links and that are down here on the screen and in the description. So feel
exactly.
free.
Feel free, fill your boots.
Yeah.
Where do you want to start? I mean, should we start with What We Do in the Shadows, the TV series?
Yeah, well, I haven't watched it, so you can kind of tell me a little bit about it and recommend it and what's good and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen the film, the 2014
Nope.
film? No. I think What We Do in the Shadows, the film, it was to me it was a bit like a Clerks experience that I had in 1999.
Hmm.
I'd never heard of it, and then one day you kind of watch it for that first time, and then you rewatch it several times, and you start showing everyone you know.
Yeah.
So like recommending it and making sure if someone comes round or something, you pop it on, and that was very much like Clerks. So I hadn't heard of What We Do in the Shadows, um, and then it popped up on YouTube on a recommendation video. So I thought, oh, I'll give that a go because it was I think by the time it was the end of like a 2015 kind of roundup, so it was on I think it was on Netflix or Amazon
Hmm.
by that point, and I loved it. I mean, I thought that the characters were really sort of like interesting. It had a great sense of humor. I mean, obviously, it's got that very, very sort of Taika Waititi humor to it. Not the Thor: Love and Thunder
Yeah.
over the top humor. That perfect. Have you seen the recruitment video that he worked on for New Zealand Police Force?
No.
You need to go on YouTube and check that out because it's just that tone.
Hmm.
So there was something really struck a chord, you know, with What We Do in the Shadows, and I think it helped as well because I'd just recently been binge watching The Office
Yeah.
and Parks and Recreation, so I was very much in that sort of like handheld, fly on the wall mockumentary sort of mindset. I mean, to be fair, I say that everyone was. That was just like dominating, sort of especially comedy media
Hmm.
at the time. So when was it? I tried to watch What We Do in the Shadows, the TV series, when it was brand new. Um, but it was one of those things, where you watch an episode and then you just suddenly something comes up and you just can't get to those other episodes.
Yeah.
So about a sort of a year or so later, they all pop up on Disney Plus. So I just binge watched series one and two, and I had to stick with it. I will admit that much like quite a few sort of adaptations where they spin off from a film version to to the small screen to TV series, because you're used to like the scale or in mockumentary kind of about similar scale, but you're used to the characters and that. It takes a while. I feel like What We Do in the Shadows TV series very much follows like a trajectory like Red Dwarf,
Mm-hmm.
where the first couple of episodes it's funny, it's good, but especially because you're comparing it to a unlike Red Dwarf, obviously never had a movie version, but you know what I mean. You're comparing them to the original characters. There's still a sense of like they haven't fully gone into the characters yet, the actors.
Yeah.
But I tell you, by season 3 and 4, they are living and breathing these characters, and you almost forget about the originals
Hmm.
from the film. It's just such a funny show, and there's going to be spoilers for some of this. So if you haven't sort of seen it, if you're watching, I mean, just tune out now because there's no no point we're going to talk about it. But yeah, I just when you see a cast just suddenly gel,
Hmm.
it doesn't take long. It only takes a few episodes and that, but then like they find this stride, and it just becomes such a pleasure to watch. And obviously, Matt Berry is like huge at the moment.
Hmm.
He's playing like his character Laszlo, um, and he brings obviously his style of comedy to it. which is absolutely, it's fantastic. He's like, he's almost like a really sort of like, more sweary kind of like that Bill Murray kind of,
Yeah.
you know, the guy who's really quite miserable and quite mean to everyone around him, but there's something about that you like. Nandor is fantastic. I didn't realize the actor who plays Nandor, and I'm not even going to try, Kayvan Novak.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he was Phone Jacker
Right.
until I literally started looking up, because some of these characters, like, Kristen Schaal, who comes in, I think, season 3, she played the daughter of Rufus in Face the Music. Does
Oh,
the
yeah.
voice of the Triceratops in Toy Story. So that was like one of the only actors that I'd really sort of seen like a lot of work from, and that was until season 3. So, and I'd completely forgotten like some of these other actors had been in stuff that I'd watched years ago. But you've got to see it. I mean, obviously, all the actors like absolutely deliver a phenomenal performance, and it's really hard to pick out like any kind of like star performer.
Yeah.
And I know the internet will blatantly say that Mark Proksch, I can't honestly, I really apologize for my pronunciation of surnames. Colin Robinson is an energy vampire. So you've got Nadia, Laszlo, and Nandor, who are vampires, the classic sense. They're from like Eastern Europe. They sleep in coffins, drink blood. Colin Robinson is an energy vampire. So they're kind of humanish. They're not fully vampire. They can't change into a bat or anything. And they don't feed off blood. They suck energy out of people. And he definitely steals the first season. And to be honest, by the time we get to season 4, when there's a transformation, that is just one of the funniest things you'll ever see. The season 1, where he's just going around working in offices, and he's just that really boring guy who comes up to you and leans on your cubicle and tells you about his weekend, or tells you about how the printer works and stuff. And people slowly fall asleep. And obviously, we both worked in offices, so you sort of like had that instant connection with that character, because you either feel like at some point you were that character or you knew someone like it who just, when they walked in, they just sucked the energy out of the room.
Plenty of people like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's on Disney Plus, so you've got to check it out. I mean, so Nadia is like this really sort of like great character as well, who has like a little doll version of herself. And I was watching it with my partner, and she was like, "What the fuck is that?" And I was like, "Oh, that's just a little doll of the human spirit of Nadia's in this little sort of like gothic doll." And she was like, "It's creepy."
Yeah.
It's brilliant. And then by season 4, it turns out that energy vampires only live for 100 years. So something happens to Colin Robinson, and it leads to what makes season 4, to me, just, it's very rare that shows go up in quality. But so far, season 4 is absolutely the top of its game for it. But again, a bit like Red Dwarf. Season 1 is a great introduction to the characters. Season 2 is great. Season 3, they're really starting to find what makes Red Dwarf work, and it's got some of the best sci-fi in Red Dwarf. But it's really season 4, 5, and 6 where Red Dwarf, I mean, they are the characters. And I haven't even mentioned Guillermo yet, who's the familiar who lives with them, who's the human character who looks after them, does all their chores, and again, he's just a phenomenal character. And it turns out at the end, he's a Van Helsing descendant. Wow. And a vampire killer, and he becomes their bodyguard. It's just, and they treat him like utter shit. But he's so desperate to be a vampire, but then he sort of like really has a really great arc from 1 to 4. So yeah, check it out. Just check it out.
No, I will. It's funny that you said about The Office, because that's actually one of the things we're watching at the moment. Me and the wife, on our 3rd watch through of The Office, the US one. Is that the one that you were referring to, the US one?
Yeah, the US one, because that's the actor who plays Colin Robinson is actually, I actually didn't recognize him. He plays Nate in The Office. But if you were to flick on YouTube and watch like a Nate clip,
he was one of the young guys who come in later, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. He was post Michael Scott.
Yeah,
that's why I don't think I recognized
the son
him.
in Hot Tub Time Machine.
No, that's
Sure.
No, it wasn't one of the young guys. He was a younger guy came into the warehouse. You're thinking of was it Clark Duke, the guy who was Hot Tub Time Machine, the
Yeah.
Sex Drive.
What we do in the shadows? What's his name? Sorry, in real life.
Mark Proksch, so Proksch. Once again, apologies for terrible butchering of surnames.
Oh yeah, I do reckon. Yeah, he doesn't come in it till late, does he? All right, yeah, no, he is.
Yeah, I think that's why I didn't recognize him because he does look quite different. To be honest, they're quite a similar character.
Mm.
It's Colin Robertson is very much an extension of that kind of Office character that he did.
Yeah,
But
we're
I just
on our rewatch. We're only just finishing season 5, or just started season 6. Pam and Jim have just got married, so that's where we're up to at the moment. So he's not in it yet on this rewatch, and it's been a good 3 or 4 years since I last watched it. So
yeah, I think you probably get a good comparison with The Office would be What We Do in the Shadows TV series, where it's the season one, like season one of The Office. It's good, but it's that season 2 where it really starts to
yeah, I think
motor.
a lot of shows. I say to anyone when I recommend a show, like the first series is always about establishing the characters, like they're all trying to find where they fit in and things like that. So I mean, even things as down to like Breaking Bad and things like that. And even like Better Call Saul, and you can reel off 100 shows. A lot of the time, really good shows, when you recommend it to people, they find it hard to get into it because you recommend it so much, but you're going off like later seasons, whereas the first season it's just trying to find its ground. So, and The Office suffers from that big time, and I think the problem with The Office as well, especially when you're trying to recommend it to like British friends, is that the US one is like for like. They literally use the same scripts as the British one. So anyone who's a fan of the British ones will just be like, "This is just a complete copy." And
You've got a direct comparison, haven't you?
and I
Comparison
don't
you
think
lived
it
with
works.
for a bit longer.
Yeah, I don't think the US one pulls off that first season as good as with the storylines as much as the British one. But as a whole, I think the US one is miles better. Like
Yeah,
season 2
is,
onwards is fantastic, but that first season is a struggle, and that's what I think is the hardest wall to break through for like recommendations with it.
Yeah, I would agree. I think a lot of people would say, used to say that when obviously the UK office, Ricky Gervais, Stephen Merchant, and all that was the biggest thing on TV, and then the US version came out. A lot of people who are huge fans of the UK office just could not get past those first few episodes.
Yeah, I couldn't. I watched the first 2 episodes back when it first came out, and I was like, "This is pants." And it was only after it had finished, which was like 2014, 2015, I just thought, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna watch it, and I powered through them first because it was like background noise, like I was doing something else, or I was doing editing or something. It was on in the background, and then season 2 onwards caught my attention, and then it wasn't background noise anymore. It was something I watched, and then the wife like joined in and all of that, and as I said, we're now on our 3rd view, and it's just such a good show. It's like something for everyone in it, and I like all the characters in it. There's not one, even the characters you don't like, you do like, because I like winding up my wife now, and I'm like, "Oh, you like Ryan, the temp," and she's like, "No, he's the worst character," or Nard Dog, Andy Menard. I was like, she's like, "He's the worst. He's so like cringe," and I'm like, "Yeah, but that's what I like about him. He's just, he's just so cringe that you can't help but like him." And
it also does help again if you've been in that office environment. You know those characters.
Yeah,
you've met them. You've met nearly every single one of them. I mean, they're
everyone is a Jim.
You've met
Everyone's
them in real life.
Jim, and that's the rest of them are those around you. So.
Yeah, everyone thinks they're a Jim.
Really,
but actually, turns out most of us are probably Dwights.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, but yeah, no. Other than that,
Nard Dogs.
Yeah, Nard Dog. But no, I'll tell you who kills me every time is Stanley. I think he's definitely in my top 3. But
I think Phyllis was majorly underappreciated.
Yeah, when she got when she turned on someone, she just become real fucking like nasty.
They're just all. I mean, it's just is a perfect series, and I mean, it does. I mean, when Steve Carell leaves, it does drop off in quality. But it's coming to its end of its run of it. What is a natural life cycle for a show like it?
But I don't think it's like, oh my god, it's terrible now. It
No,
just,
no, no. It,
it becomes like a 10 out of 10. It goes, from like a 10 out of 10 to an 8 out of 10, which you'd
it,
watch every day of the week
yeah,
anyway.
it resets almost back to season one.
Hmm.
But if it had gone longer, it may have got up to the heights of the 3s, 4s, and 5s and that again. If they got longer,
Yeah,
post Michael Scott. But I think it came to a perfect ending where it wrapped up, and because if it had gone longer, there's a chance it just gets actually worse, progressively worse, like really bad.
Do you think do you think they'll ever do a reboot? There's always talk about it, and they always, all of them say that they'll do it, but I think they're all none of them are kind of in a financial situation where they need it, because like the Friends characters, they're making absolute bucket loads of cash. They probably make more money now each year off it than when it was airing originally.
Yeah,
it's like the Seinfeld guy, wasn't it? He makes like stupid, like 10 million a year just off of reruns or something.
What's that all about?
Yeah.
What's the deal with making royalties?
Yeah.
It's they obviously the backdoor pilot, the farm, where they went to.
I said that to the wife the other day. I said, "Oh, do you know the episode?" Because we hadn't got there yet. But I was like, "You do know they were going to do a spin-off? It's that episode where it's just on Dwight, but it never, like, I think it didn't test well, or they just plugged it in the middle. So I don't think that would have been cack. That would have been the joy of The Office.
What helps probably with the cast of The Office is that, not even just financially, but thinking about sort of like where they are now, none of them are really starved creatively. You've got you've got Jack Ryan going on.
Yep.
Steve Carell's done everything from.
He's got that morning show now, isn't
he? He's done everything from like blockbuster comedies to things like Welcome to Marwen.
Well, he's making loads of money from the Minions films as well.
Oh yeah, he's got the Minions films, but he's got kind of a broad sort of spectrum of kind of like projects, and I'd say most of the cast seem to have something going on that would really fulfill you as an artist, as an actor.
Yeah, but a lot of them as well are not
producer or
necessarily actors, are they?
They
had their own names in the show, and they were just put in positions, and they're, as you said, they're not like, you wouldn't sit there and think like the Stanley character or people like that are actual actors going out and taking roles in other stuff. That's probably 90% of just who he is, and he's just collecting them royalties every year.
Yeah, and and they've got other stuff going on. So yeah, I mean, I love The Office. I would choose it hands down now after watching it all. If I was like, I fancy an episode of The Office, I would, to be fair, go straight past the UK Office box set and go straight to streaming. Obviously, I'm not going to have like 200 series of the US Office DVDs piled up, but yeah, I'd go straight to the US every time now.
Yeah, I think the US one. So I'm laughing because I said about I had a parcel delivery. I just see it go flying over my wall. So I don't have to get up and answer the door, but it's probably broken. So the corner of my eye.
Ace Ventura.
I just think something at the corner of my eye, and it just went clonk, and I was like, Christ,
big fragile across it.
Yeah, do not drop. But yeah, sorry. I completely forgot where we was.
That's all right. Yeah, just recommending The Office.
Yeah, I think the UK one, I've seen it twice. And I think I watched it like 10 years when it came out, and probably about 5 years ago. I think that's something you can revisit once every 10 years, and it's a nice little kind of time capsule. But the US one, you could easily burn through it every couple of years.
Well, it's easy to watch as well because it's a UK series. So was it 6 episodes, 2 seasons?
Yeah, it's 2 seasons and a Christmas special. So.
Yeah, you do that in an afternoon.
Yeah.
But yeah, what else have you been watching?
Yeah, well, again, there's 2 things. One we recently finished watching, which I'll get into in a minute. It's a show called From. I don't know if you've heard of it. And the other show that I'm currently watching is Jack Ryan season 3.
Oh,
So
speaking of Jack
another,
Ryan,
yeah. So like you segued all of my things with The Office and now Jack Ryan.
oh yeah.
But I don't know. Have you been watching it? Have you watched Jack Ryan?
No, it's one of those things where there's a limited slot for TV
Yeah,
time, and most of the time you have to compromise and find something that you both want to watch.
yeah,
That's why I end up watching a tons of trash.
yeah. I mean, I started it probably about a year ago after the first 2 seasons had come out. Um, you know, I've watched the sort of all the Jack Ryan, the Tom Clancy Jack Ryan stories before. You know, with like Harrison Ford and the Somerville Fears with Batfleck, and I think John Krasinski is my favorite like version of the Jack
Really,
Ryan
even
character.
more than Chris Pine.
Yeah.
It was
I was
being a
gonna,
shadow recruit, wasn't it?
yeah, but that to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
honest, I've not seen that one.
I haven't
No.
seen that. I think I saw half of it when it came out, and
I remember just being like there was that and Jack Reacher come out, and it was like ooh, too many Jacks this year.
Jack Reacher Ryan.
Yeah, but yeah, I think not only that, I think the format of the Jack Ryan series is perfect. You know, because these are sort of like very in depth stories. You know, these are novels, and like these
Yeah,
storylines are based on. And I think like this 8 episode series captures that perfectly. Like the setup, you know, the build up and the payoff, and all of this is much better suited to a like a limited run series or like a short
yeah,
episode run series than a film because like I watched the Somerville Fears again a few years ago, and I was just like, it's just too much going on for such
yeah,
a short space of time, and I think that's where you know stuff like that suffers. And like as I said, John Krasinski, I think he like encapsulates the character perfectly, and you know everything about it I just enjoy, and which is funny because I was sitting there the other day and I was like, he's done very well to kind of not typecast himself, you
he
know.
has. Yeah, I think
Um,
it helped because when did 13 Hours? Was it 13 Hours?
That was something we watched recently as well. That's a great
When did
film.
that come out? Did it? Was that in the middle?
2016. That was
So
3 years after The Office. I think that was him trying to.
yeah,
He hadn't really done much sort of mainstream stuff before that. You know, I think he did a voice in Monsters University.
didn't he do
Um,
some wedding? Did he do some
yeah, I think he'd done a couple of like Office.
rom com?
Yeah, John. Sorry for the radio silence.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously I think Hunt for Red October is an absolute masterpiece
Yeah,
film, but it's not really it's Jack Ryan film, is it? It's a Sean Connery,
yeah,
film. It's everything is around really the submarine crew
yeah.
more than
He's a
anything.
character in the story rather
Yeah,
than
he
the
is. Yeah.
lead. But
Where it's Patriot Games, obviously that's where Harrison Ford takes over, and it is very much a Harrison Ford film.
hmm,
And I really like that one because it feels like a more. It felt like at the time a sort of a good sort of like James Bond kind of film, but where James Bond isn't a super spy; he's just a guy that works. It came out at the right time. It was and Clear and Present Danger, even though it's actually quite a slow burn, it's a great film. I think it came out in a summer that was like heavily sort of like jam packed though with your big explosive blockbusters.
what
But
year was
recently
it? Was it like
rewatching it, it
91,
holds up.
92? Wasn't it?
What's that? Clear and Present Danger. I think it
Yeah,
was 94.
maybe.
94, yeah.
So you had Speed. You had no, the Lethal Weapon 3 was 93 or 2, like that.
Two, yeah.
Mm.
But yeah, I think rewatching it recently, I think it was about 9-10 months ago. It really holds up as a solid spy thriller. But again, you're trying to pack a lot into a theatrical release as a realistic like
Mm.
running time for an audience to stay engaged.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what I mean. It's very enjoyable. I do recommend you watching it. You know, each series is kind of like the basis of the storyline for each series is fairly different from each other to make it like a new interesting rather than 24. You know, it was kind of like 24, you know, as great as it was, It
Yeah.
seems like each season was a rinse and repeat, other than like the was it Redemption, which was the like the TV movie, which was the only real standout different storyline for Jack Bauer, and the London one, which was great. But it's only because it was like, oh, I know that place.
License to Wed was the rom-com I was thinking of.
Yeah,
License to Wed with Robin Williams, one of his last films, I think.
yeah. I think they come out.
Yeah, I think.
Before, no, they come out before the end of The Office. He had a
Yeah,
part
that's
in
what. Yeah,
Aloha, the one with Jennifer
Bradley
Lawrence.
Cooper.
Is it Jennifer
Yeah,
Lawrence?
yeah.
Yeah,
Is it Bradley Cooper in that one?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, didn't that like bomb like massively hard, or got like
yeah. Most
was
likely.
that like a Razzies winner or something?
Yeah, but I don't think he had a big part in that. He was,
No.
but he didn't really sort of dive into anything head on until 13 Hours. I think again he was probably just waiting. He probably spent 2-3 years turning down like, oh, you're basically Jim, but in this film, and he was probably
Yeah,
just like,
probably.
no. And then
And then he
obviously,
did his Good News, didn't he? As well as
hmm,
John Krasinski's Good News. Was it Good News?
oh, what on the
On, like,
YouTube?
yeah,
Yeah, that's quite.
that, yeah.
Yeah, it's worth watching. But yeah, I mean, so yeah, check out Jack Ryan. You know, I don't think it's getting cancelled anytime soon. So you know,
No, it seems to be a series that Amazon are really, really hanging their hat on,
hmm.
and it's sort of like successful enough for
And
it to keep.
they're
Going.
not pumping it out either. You know, it's
No.
like there's the first season was 2017, and then I think it was 2019 was season 2, and season 3 just come out. So
No,
it's
and there was a
like,
pandemic in the.
yeah, but I
in
think it
between
probably
that,
delayed
so.
it a year tops.
Yeah.
So I think they put in 2-3 like at least 2 years between each season, which yeah, again is like
Yeah, so it comes recommended.
yeah, no, it's really enjoyable, and the episodes I think they're like 40 minutes long, so it's good.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what's really helped me sort of stick with, even though some of them have been, they haven't been great, but some of the Disney Plus shows, like your Marvel shows, it's the short run times, because I'm like, I can quickly fit that in a lunch break. Whereas at the moment I am struggling, even though technically, what's the point of watching a show that you're kind of half interested in just because you can squeeze it into a 23-minute watch when you might as well just watch a full 45 minutes of something of quality.
Yeah.
I mean, if we speaking of like stuff that's like not quality, but I don't know whether I'd recommend it or not. We've been watching the new Netflix show that's just dropped, Pirate Gold of Adak Island. Now this is a show that basically should be on a Freeview TV station like Quest.
Yeah.
Where you're like your retired dad or granddad is sitting down in the middle of the day watching it. It is boring. It's
tell me more.
Utter trash. But for some reason, you end up watching the entire series. It's just, there's something about it where you think maybe it's deliberate. It's so boring. It's so boring that something's got to happen. But no, it's nothing. So far, got one episode left to go, and I think I might just scan through it and just see if anything happens.
Yeah. So not recommending.
No, it feels like what they do is they start off. So the story is, this sealer back in like 1882 is like poaching, and they basically, he says okay to all the other sort of like sealers who have just been made like illegal, give me all your gold and I'll go hide it somewhere, and then once the US Navy, I think it is, once all the heat calms down, we'll go back and we'll get the gold. So they do all the scientific stuff, where could he have sort of weighed anchor, how far could you actually drag that amount of gold they estimate he had inland. Now this is like a small, like an island I say a small island in Alaska. It's actually it's a small island, but it's big, if you know. I mean, it's some of the areas they're searching for this gold. I'm thinking like that's like the equivalent of like searching like the radius of London for this gold. So it starts off like that, and then they sort of like do some historical research, and they realize that a coffee can of gold coins was discovered at a US Army base. So they think, okay, well, some of the gold could be buried there, and they another sort of coffee can of gold was found on like a US Navy base on the other side of the island. So they're like, okay, gold could be there, and it kind of lines up. They estimate that he could probably come into this bay, wade anchor on the rock, and gold makes sense around this area. And I think where the show falls down is they're doing that quite methodical approach, and then when they dig on one site, they find an unexploded artillery shell, and they have to wait 3 months for an expert to come up and do a controlled explosion. But then rather than just kind of like not filming anything for 3 months, they just roll camera for another like 3 or 4 episodes. And it's utter filler trash because they're looking around the island going, oh, he could, and then the hypotheses start going wild. Oh, he could have done this and could have done that. It could be there. Yeah, it could be blooming anywhere. Do you know, it could be anywhere. It's like you've just done quite a sort of like a logical, thought out approach to where this gold could be. And then now, because you can't access one site because of this unexploded sort of like shell, you're now just going, oh, it could be here, 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 everywhere. It's, I don't know. I recommend it if you're struggling to sleep,
Yeah,
or if you just want to really moan about something.
an insomnia cure.
Yeah. Do you know what? Sorry, I recommend it. Go watch it because it's trash. It's trash TV. It's not Tiger King trash TV, but it's not exploitative trash TV. Oh, that's speaking of exploitative trash TV. It's not trash, but that Chippendale show.
Yeah.
On Disney Plus. That is absolutely brilliant. That was such a good. It did help that I'd watched the real life documentary like a year prior, so I understood what was going on, because otherwise you'd be like, I was quite surprised when I heard the real story behind it anyway, that it was all, there was like murders and suicides going on.
Yeah, my wife's a sucker for stuff like that. She watches anything, as soon as you see it pop up on Netflix or whatnot, even just by the thumbnail, I'm like, oh, that's her show. And like later on, I'll just flick it up and she'll go, ooh, what's this? And then
it was quite funny because it's one of those it is one of those shows where you think, oh, it's Chippendale, so it's like male strippers. It's not. It's a good sort of like it's a good show. It's not what you can sit down with your partner and sort of watch it and sort of talk about all the corruption and the criming and the backstabbing that was going on. It's definitely I think it's going to win awards.
Yeah,
I think it's definitely going to pick up some awards.
No, I'll seek that out because that looks like something that she would like. But the other show we finished recently was a show called From. Have you ever heard of it?
I have, because I think I was going to watch it and then I just never got around to it.
Yeah, it's good, and they're making a second series, so it's not just left on any kind of cliffhanger thus far. But basically, the story is like this family, they're going on like a family trip in this like a Winnebago, and they're driving down this country road, and there's this tree blocking the road, and like there's like this weird, all these birds flying around. So they're like, oh, there's a road back there. Like maybe we should go down there and like find a way around this. So as they're driving through, they come into this like weird town. It's sort of like, do you ever remember like it's like sort of like out in the middle of nowhere, American, like weird wooden houses, sort of like you remember like the House of Wax film where it's just like a weird.
No,
like,
I didn't watch the House of Wax film.
But they come across this town where there's like a handful of like houses and a church and like a big mansion at the top of the hill, and like all the people are out there, and the main guy Harold Perrineau he's the town sheriff. He's just like, oh shit, and he's like, oh, you need any help? And they're like, oh, we're just looking to get back on the highway. So he's like, oh, yeah, just keep going the way you're going, like through the town. So they leave, and then he turns around to the townspeople and he's like, okay, so who's gonna help prepare them and all this, that, and the other. And basically they drive off, and it's like a Pac-Man scenario, and they're driving and all of a sudden they come in the other side of the town.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, what the hell? and then they go again and end up coming back, and like they're driving around and round and round for ages, and it's getting night. So then like the Harold Perrineau character like stops him. He's like, look, you've got to, you know, he says basically, you know, you've got to come inside. Da 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 da. Oh, and then like I won't spoil it, but basically this it's set around this town. Once people go into it, they can't leave, and at night, like these weird vampire things come out, and but you know they can't come into houses that have this like weird special like plaque, which they ran like it's not revealed where they've come from yet, but like the houses have this plaque. The vampires can't come in unless they're invited, and yeah, and I think the weirdest thing about it is why it's called From is because like when you find out that they're like, oh, you know, we were just driving. They're like, where were you driving? And they're like, oh, I was in New York on the 105, and that's where the tree was. And then I turned down this road, and this other guy's like, well, we were in Southern California, and there was a tree, and then we took the side road, and you know, you find that all these people ended up in this one town, but were nowhere near each other when they drove into it. Yeah, it's just, and it's really interesting. There's a lot more going on. And
Is it is it like on the level of like Midnight Mass? Have you seen?
Yeah. It's it's got the same kind of vibes. You know, it's almost like Lost meets the Midnight Mass.
Okay,
but
Midnight
that's
Mass
kind of
is
that
one
would
of
have been
my-
a good example for like the town setup almost. You know, like the houses and things like that. So if you liked Midnight Mass, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, I'll check that out because Midnight Mass is probably one of my favorite things.
Yeah, it's
That's
great.
kind of like
So
sort of dropped on
unexpected
Netflix
as well when you
since
watch
it
it.
started. And I like I've been watching all the Mike Flanagan series, and it does seem like he goes like he has. It's every other series is like top draw.
Yeah. Did you? I take it you watched the house. I always say it wrong. It's the house. The Haunting of Hill House is the correct.
Yes,
I always
Hill
say the
House.
house
Yeah,
on Haunted
yeah.
Hill. But
Yeah, no, Haunted Hill House. There was a few bits and pieces in that, obviously, that I was like, well, felt like there were like little loose like threads that sort of like nothing ever came back to it, or some stuff that could have been. But overall, I think that was a great show. Great,
and Bly is it Bly Manor?
Bly Manor.
We started watching that, but the wife lost interest very quick because she assumed it was going to be in the same.
It's a very
vein.
different kind of.
Yeah. So I've only watched the first two of that so far.
It's good, but it's frustrating in some way because it feels like what's good about it is kind of like held back by almost, I don't know, it feels like feeling the need it has to be also a bit like Hill House. Whereas I think if it just lent harder into the love story element of it and the tragedy of loss and that kind of, maybe our ghosts real, are they not, is it in the mind, that it might have actually played out better.
Yeah.
Rather than having, because I also didn't really like just towards the end, it just suddenly drops an entire explainer episode into it. I think you lose your story if you have to do that.
Yeah.
Because I might as well just watch the explainer episode and then.
but
so yeah. So I mean, obviously, none of his series are bad. I've got to finish the Midnight Club. I'm about halfway through. Again, it's not as interesting. It's nowhere near as interesting as Midnight Mass. It's still decent.
Is it more? It's more focused like for tweens, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but it's still an interesting concept in that. But it's not. Yeah, I think you have to adjust your expectations with each one. Almost going completely. Don't just forget about the previous series that he's done, and just go into each one fresh, and just enjoy what he puts on screen rather than comparing them to.
Yeah, you're a big fan of Doctor Sleep, though, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, well,
you told me to watch the director's cut, didn't you?
Director's cut, yeah.
And I had it on my list on Amazon, and then it got removed, so I couldn't. And the standard ones on like Netflix or something else, but I'm waiting for the director's cut.
Yeah, I highly recommend. Yeah, I think Doctor Sleep, the director's cut, that is a great, because to me it needs the extra runtime.
Yeah,
it needs it.
Yeah, I think. Have you seen Hush?
No,
that's the film. That's on Netflix. It's the one with because that's his wife, isn't it? She's in all the shows. You know the one I'm talking about?
No.
She's in.
One on the boat that when in Midnight Mass.
Yeah, she's the one who's pregnant.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's his wife in real life.
Okay.
She's basically plays a deaf person, and she's like a writer. So she goes to this cabin in the woods to like write her book. And there's basically like like a serial killer who breaks into the house and like
Yeah, yeah, I
stalking
know.
around, and
Recognise
like she
the
can't
poster
hear
now.
him. So he's not like sneaking around in the shadows. He's just sneaking around out of view.
Hmm.
So it's a really good film actually. So
Okay, I'll check that out.
yeah, and I mean Gerald's Game, that was quite a good adaptation. Quite freaky at
Yeah.
the end, but
It's a
yeah,
long time for Doctor Sleep director's cut. The thing I found about the director's cut is I watched it like classic Stephen King style. I watched it in 2 nights
yeah.
because it.
That's most films nowadays. I watch it in like three
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
parts.
But this one actually does feel like it has a natural endpoint
Hmm.
almost in the middle
So you
to
can be like,
watch
oh,
it
chip in,
like,
catch up
yeah, like
tomorrow.
back in the day you'd watch like it part 1 and 2 over two
Mm,
nights. So even though it runs almost about 3 hours,
yeah,
it fits perfectly pretty much into that sort of 2 night watch.
yeah,
Because a lot of time if I see a film now, there's like so many on my watch list that are 2.5 to 3 hours long, and I really, really want to see them, but I haven't got 3 hours in one go. So I need to sort of like try to do that where just watch 90 minutes, find a natural pause, breaking
and
it, and
chip off.
then carry on the next night.
Mm. Yeah, no, I do want to see it. I'm gonna see if I can seek out the director's cut. To be honest, I went to town the other day, in CEX, and I picked up a couple of Blu-rays of some films that I've been like that waiting to watch, and just they've not been available, and they were like 50p on Blu-ray. So I was like, oh, screw it. Cause I bought a 70-inch TV the other day, so I've been slowly getting back into enjoying films, so for like the experience, because it's a big enough TV that I almost feel like I'm at the cinema. So
Yeah.
and but yeah, no, I'll definitely check it out. I might. Is it worth? Because I haven't seen The Shining in about 15 years. Is it worth rewatching The Shining before?
Do you know what? I think, yeah, I mean, it's always worth rewatching The Shining.
Yeah. To be honest, but my
Um,
wife's never seen it, so it'll be an
yeah,
excuse to get her to
well,
watch
yeah.
it.
I mean, but I would say it's one of those things actually where I think you could possibly go in a little bit cold and
Mm.
only watch this one and still
You can't, you know,
vaguely have an
yeah, like I
idea, but you
know,
wouldn't get the impact.
mm,
You do need to,
get a little fresh,
yeah.
fresh memory nudge
I
from
mean,
it.
actually, I mean, if you've already seen The Shining, even
Yeah,
if you've seen
I've
years,
seen it
yeah,
like
even
four or
if you've
five
seen it years
times.
ago, Doctor Sleep works perfectly. I think, and anyone who's never seen The Shining, it would still be a enjoyable film. You just wouldn't get
Mm.
the ultimate experience out of it.
Yeah, no, it does look good. It's looping on IMDb like the trailer, so I think I'll put that in my top five for upcoming watches, film wise. Probably watch it as you said in a couple of um, viewings. I got to go to town tomorrow, so I'll have a look see if they got it in
Yeah,
CEX or
it's worth it.
yeah. But other than that, I mean, looking forward. Have you seen the new Scream trailer? Just
I did.
the
I mean,
latest one, the like the full trailer rather than
no, I can't
the
remember actually.
teaser.
Did I see the teaser? I can't. Do you know? I
The
can't
teaser's
remember.
just on the subway, whereas the full trailer's like showing what's going
I think
down.
I
And
think I have watched the full trailer. Yeah.
yeah, dropped about a week or so ago. But what was your thoughts on it? It looks different. I give it that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a shift away from the
Small town America
yeah
kind of vibe.
Woodsboro and all that.
It
It's
doesn't feel like it's Jason Goes to Manhattan. It feels
yeah
like it's going to have it's not just, oh, let's go to New York. Well, I don't we haven't seen it yet, but from the trailer,
Ghostface Goes to Manhattan.
yeah, it doesn't feel like it's just going to New York for the sake of it, if that makes sense. Even though technically, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
the vibe I'm getting from it feels very Scream too to me, like the aesthetic and the vibe I'm getting from it. But what I've got a feeling is, do you know about the original abandoned Kevin Williamson script for Scream 3?
I do, but do you know, but I couldn't. Yeah, it's one of those things that I've read about and I've watched videos
Yeah.
about, but I couldn't like off the
Did
top of my head
yeah?
tell you.
Did you ever see the TV show with Kevin Bacon, The Following?
No.
That's Kevin Williamson wrote that. He reworked his original Scream 3 script. Basically, the original Scream 3 was, Matthew Lillard's character, Stu, survived and he's in jail. And basically, the murders are being committed by a bunch of his, like, cult following, like, diehard fans who he's basically the puppet master in
Yeah.
jail, like, controlling, um, you know, them, like the killing sprees and all of that. And the TV show The Following is like a famed serial killer, and there's a bunch of copycats, like, doing his killings for him in the same style that he did it. And Kevin Bacon's trying to get him to stop it and, like, investigating the murders and that. So
Okay.
yeah, so, like, at the end of, like, this Scream 3 original script, like, it turns out that there's about, like 40 ghost faces, and they're all, like, part of this cult, which I've got a feeling that something like that is kind of reworked into this one, by the way that they're, it's not just one ghost face, it's going to be like more than two, maybe like a whole group, or like a, but I don't know. I could be completely wrong. Comes out in March.
No, I mean possibly. I mean we are living in an era of cults, so
Yeah. And what was interesting is that I was really annoyed about, not annoyed, but I was bummed about the Nev Campbell thing, not only for her not being in it, because she's Scream, isn't she? She's basically
well,
Scream.
yeah. She's Jamie Lee Curtis to Halloween.
Yeah. But, like, also bummed out for the fact that that they shafted her for her, like, tried to screw her over for her pay for being in. That's why she wasn't in it. But yeah, but watching the trailer, I was interested and I was engrossed and wanted to see it, and it was only after an afterthought. I was like, oh, and I didn't even miss Nev Campbell in the trailer. I didn't even think about it. So
Yeah.
that was quite good. But, there's another film I watched though. I'm just going to go over it briefly. I saw, like, it stirring up online. Everyone going, "Have you heard of it? Skinamarink."
I'm going to
It's
Google
like a
that.
Canadian.
Should I Google that?
Yeah, it's like this weird. It's a Canadian horror film, and it's like Paranormal Activity in the early '90s or something. Basically, it's like VHS cameras in a house, and these
All
kids
right.
wake up in the night. It's like '92 or something. It's set in, and all their dad's gone, and all the windows and all the doors are gone from their house.
Okay.
And there's, like, something. Oh my god! I watched half of it and I turned it off. I was like, "This is the biggest load of guff I've ever seen."
Oh, if you're going to say this is the creepiest thing I've ever seen, and I couldn't sleep, so I had to turn it off.
No,
because I was
no,
so
it
scared.
wasn't even that. I was just
Oh,
like, "This is so uninteresting."
oh,
You
really?
know?
Because I'm reading some of these headlines here, so like making it sound it's like
Yeah, but it's not. It's
the
just,
must watch of the year.
I don't know. I don't
I like
know.
the idea. I mean, I like the premise.
Yeah, yeah. That's what hooked me. I was like, "Oh, that sounds awesome." And even the trailer, I was like, "This looks creepy as shit." But then I watched it and I was like, "This is the biggest pile of shit."
Oh, well,
And I'm a sucker for low.
you should have left
budget
me on the hook
shitty
there and
horror.
just gone.
Go
Oh,
watch
you
it.
should check it out.
Yeah. Maybe you might really enjoy it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
But, is there anything else you want to cover for this one?
No, I think we'll catch up
We've
once
got
we've gone through
we've
some more series on the watch list.
yeah we've got a rough regular schedule now that we can do these. So
Yeah.
a slot that I'm available for the foreseeable. So hopefully people enjoy it. And anyone got any really good recommendations? Let us know.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Don't forget to give the video a like and give it a share. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers.